here is where the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Poleski dives onto the right side, very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys, Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Poleski. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Well, now it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Vito Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will cook the grass a little away. A 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernald. Gernald will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. He missed the complete. He's crazy.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard.
In some ways, the UK is the home of Formula One. Many teams are based here, racing culture thrives, and an incredible number of fans always show for the British Grand Prix. So with Lotus 79s getting ready to roar around the track that held the very first round of the modern F1 Championship, I'd say there's no better place to kick things off than Silverstone. You're watching round 1 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Silverstone has a ton of history with F1, so it feels right for the CTC to kick things off here.
Joe, I swung by Whittleberry this morning and had some tea and biscuits to think about today's race. Right here in the Northamptonshire villages of Silverstone and Whittleberry, this track built on the site of a World War II Royal Air Force bomber station. Currently the home of the British Grand Prix, which it first hosted in 1948. The old historic version of this track, the one we're racing today, is one of 5 available configurations offered by iRacing. The best way to get an idea what it's like to get around the 16 turns that we'll race on today, just a little over 5 kilometers, 3.142 miles racetrack, is to hop on board the GSRC Lotus 79 for a lap around Silverstone.
All right, we've got Juha Norlampi and the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Silverstone. Coming down to Copse, this is a wicked fast corner in this car. Pass attempts will only come for the brave or the foolish. Where the car winds up determines which you were. Coming off the corner, bring it to the right for the best line into the Maggots-Beckett sequence. This set of S's starts with quicker corners that get slower as you go. Being able to keep your speed up to produce more grip from the ground effects will be important through here. Ideally, you want to set yourself up for the launch off the final right-hander, and once you blast through Chapel, you'll see why. The Lotus tends to punch a big hole in the air, and with the length and speed of the hanger straight feeding that, cars will get a giant slipstream. Expect plenty of pass attempts down into Stowe. The problem is, it's got a pretty short braking zone. Plus, if you can carry your speed around the outside, sometimes drivers will be able to fight back on the run-up to Vale. Unfortunately, in the historic layout, it's a fast sweeper with a narrow line into Club. That means drivers will want to sort it out instead of attempting a too-wide entry. Off of Club, once again, your exit will be critical to the lap. The historic layout removes the Abbey chicane and returns it to its traditional fast kink. Passes might once again take place, but the grip of the 79 makes bridge frighteningly quick. That does make it easier to take a wider entry into Priory, where the more technical final few turns of the course begin. But if there's one thing this car isn't a fan of, it's low-speed turns. It takes a gentle right foot without the downforce to help you out with this beast's immense power. The main thing is to set yourself up for the run out of Luffield. You can see how tough it is to get on the gas. Woodcote is easily flat out, and as you come across the line, you've now finished a lap around Silverstone. That's a very fast lap here around Silverstone. But right now, cars are doing even faster laps doing their qualifying. As we let them work their way through that, let's take a glance at how the championship wound up last season. Jarno Prix took the top spot when all was said and done. He managed to keep Juha Norlampi at bay the whole season. Had missed a couple of the first races, came back strong, and just really looked unstoppable as things continued. Of course, Antti Lepisto, he climbed up in the final round up to third, not too far behind Norlampi, who seemed to struggle a little bit towards the end of the season. Kalle Ruokola slipping down to fourth because of that, and then Gerd Hoffer was a ways back, but finished consistently throughout most of the season to claim that fifth position there on our graphic. What about the team's championship here, Sean?
Well, Jarno, his effort there in the driver championship put his team on top. Albalade Williams Racing, him and Simpkins, they're 267 points strong. Now, Kalle Ruokola and Cliff Cockrell there, Quip Leger, Titan, they finished second in the points, just out of it, man. 7 points. It was really close at the top. Gerd Hoffer and Timothy Dalton there for Parmalat finished third. Norlampi, Colin Bennett Racing, Colin Bennett Racing there in fourth. Unipart Racing rounding out the top five.
Now, one thing I'm finding interesting as we get qualifying going is Prix is not here today for the broadcast race. And Norlampi, as you can see by the timing sheets, is topping things. Sergio Macias not too far behind, only a 10th back, 10th and a half, I'd say. And he's coming around to finish his second lap. So let's see if he can get himself one more spot and put himself on the pole. He was performing very well towards the end of last season. Coming up through Luffield now.
Yeah, Joe, and we have several drivers that are just now on track getting their opening laps in, their out laps. So many times left to come by some great drivers still on this list.
Oh, and Macias goes to the pole. In fact, improves over Norlampi by 4/10. Now, Juha is coming around Luffield himself, so he has only completed one lap. This will be his second go. They only get 2 laps here in this lone qualifying. He gets toppled by Gerd Hoffer.
What's the preacher got?
Through Woodcote. And he improves, but not enough.
Wow.
Half a tenth off the pole.
Did we hear a rumor that Sergio was pretty good here this week?
I heard, rumor that I heard was that Pablo was strong. And he's a little bit farther down the order at the moment. Actually, he hasn't put a time in yet. Pablo Suarez, but Kalle Ruokola currently sitting in fifth. You can see on your screen, he is finishing his second lap coming through Brooklands, swinging it back around. Very tough, technical final portion of the lap. Tough to make time here. Very easy to lose it if you get greedy on the throttle. He's got a 1:27.8. He crosses the line for his second lap. He comes up to third.
That was a good lap by Kalle.
Seeing some familiar faces up towards the top, including one of them, Nuno Moreira,
who didn't get to run the full season last season. So let's see if Nuno is going to be here every week. But let's see what kind of lap he can put here. He got a second one in there.
Yeah, and it does allow him to jump up to fourth. So Moreira gets himself down to a 1:27.5. Seems like these second laps are really coming in a lot better for a number of drivers.
Well, Suarez just got his first lap in, Joe, and that got him in 15th. Ryan McCusker, the Canadian, just jumps up the board in a 9th with a really, really good second lap, a 1:28.2.
That's a name I'm not familiar with in this series, actually. Let's see if the Canadian can maybe imitate Gilles Villeneuve and put in some stunning performances out here. Starting in the top 10, and what we should mention is top split as well. They've had enough drivers sign up today that they did split, so this is the best of the best. And Sean, you were saying it's 3,500 strength of field here today?
Yeah, 3,469 to be exact. Brother, that is strong.
Yeah, qualifying a top 10 and that level of field is saying something. So newcomer putting his stamp. Let's see if he can do any better in the race. Suarez finishing up. We saw a bit of a spin. I didn't catch who that was on screen though. So their second lap, whoever that was, is not going to count. But as Pablo only 15th, we heard from drivers that he was looking good. Let's see what he does with his second lap. Does he jump farther up? He does, but only to 11th.
John Stevens still on track, coming around for his second lap, Joe.
I don't think he's going to be able to finish.
Yeah.
The clock has ticked down, so let's go through the grid. Sergio Macias put it on the pole. Nora Lampi, without Frisch here, is starting second, but he's still going to have competition. Kyle Ruocola starting in third with Nuno Moreira on the outside of row 2. Gerd Hoffer starts in fifth with Steve Bycroft starting on the outside of row 3, and then seventh will be Marco Kika. Floris Bichar starting in 8th, and P9 will be Ryan McCusker, newcomer. Let's see what he's got. Mark Pickford, very popular on the forums, will round out the top 10.
Okay, and at 11th, it's going to be Pablo Ramirez Suarez. 12th, going to go to Antti Terho. Timothy Dalton in 13th. 14th, going to go to John Stevens. Row 8, 15th, it's going to be Joaquim Boddicker and Sami Välimäki. Gilles 2 will start in 17th. Paul Devine, 18th. Henrik Kamara in 19th. John Keefe, 20th. And rounding out this 21-car field, another Canadian, John Oken in here.
So 21 cars taking to the grid. As we wait for them to all line up, then we'll get the green flag and we'll go racing for 29 laps here around Silverstone. know there was talk about the temperature having an effect on how the cars drive, but it looks like that will not be a concern. Only 77 degrees on track surface temperature.
Not fair, Joe. I had to practice in 95-degree on-track temperature, so yeah, I take exception to that.
Every driver always believes they could have gone faster in better conditions, don't they? But as we watch the last of them come to the grid, you can see just only 2 more spots left to fill. Then the lights will come up. Going to be difficult to start here as the cars will be curved through Woodcote. There you can see the lights have now come up. What can Macias do against Nora Lampi, who had a strong start to last season? Green flag is out. Macias with a great jump. Nora Lampi follows him through, but how about Kalle Ruocola losing out to Nuno Moreira right off the line? He's going to try to come the long way around through Copse. Can't get the grip, slots back into 4th behind them, very close. They've got Gerd Hoffer threatening.
Well, still, grip is going to be premium here on this opening lap, Joe. Yes, the track is cool, but the tires are not hot. We need more of that for grip. Everybody making it through here so far, but we come down to Stowe. Let's see what happens.
One of the popular passing places, Macias was weaving to try and break the draft already. Nora Lampi not close enough to make an attack, though. Pretty much everybody single file as they come into this right-hander. Now up to club. We were told it's going to be very tough to get the power down out of here. Let's see if anybody loses it, Sean.
So far, so good.
Everybody very clean through the quick kink of Abbey. Side-by-side action between Ryan McCusker and the car of Antti Terho. Terho manages to overtake on the inside of Bridge. They get back single file once more, now coming through Priory and into the technical final section of the track.
Yeah, we've got a different Antti here. Antti Terho. I don't remember seeing him previously. Nice move he made there on McCusker.
Mark Pickford making moves, slipping into the inside of Suarez, getting into 12th. Pickford known for driving a lot of these retro machinery. Showed up a lot in Lotus 49 a couple seasons ago. Ruocola really putting the pressure on if we jump back up to 2nd place. He's all over the back of fellow Finn, Nora Lampi. And then behind them as well, don't count out Nuno Moreira.
I love watching him go through Maggots and Beckett's from a wide angle. It looks like just a big snake slithering through there.
These cars have a lot of downforce with the ground effects on them, really allowing them to stick to the road. You can see just how closely they're staying to one another here for second, third, and fourth. They're dropping off a little bit on Macias, but keeping him within a second. Don't forget behind them as well, that's Gerd Hoffer trailing. Could maybe get involved in this if these three start battling.
Joe, at the very back of the field, John Oken, the Canadian we talked about, started all the way at the back. He's already picked up 3 spots. He's working on Gilles 2 now. This is a good battle. He's really fast here early.
Oken works his way through Priory, just holding a couple car lengths behind Toe. Toe hailing from France, just having jumped across the virtual channel to try and ply his trade here at Silverstone, and he pulls away a little bit from Oken once they hit the start-finish line once more. Oh, and Morera, if I'm not mistaken, he was behind both Ruocola, or no, it was just Ruocola he was behind, and he gets by.
Sorry, we had contact between Timothy Dalton back here, another driver. They were side by side. It was Mark Pickford and Dalton. Pickford gets kicked off into the dirt.
Ooh, he was squeezing his car in, but he was fully alongside. I think that was fair game on him to stick his nose in there. It just was not left enough room. As you can see on the replay, he got shoved off.
Here we go on board with Pickford. He comes up alongside. He's in there.
Good presentation to me. Yeah, just gets pushed up onto the curb and can't do much from there. That moves him all the way back to last place as we come back live. He's got a 2-second gap now to John Keefe, who he's got to try and run down. The position that we were just mentioning before we jump to that was Morera taking third off of Ruocola, and as I said, that battle did bring in Hoffer to this. Significantly, they've also closed on our leader, Macias. The number 2 has only a 0.6 gap over Norlampi.
Yeah, the preacher's coming, Joe. Gonna come down the front here now. The cops.
I have a feeling after him missing out last season and trying so hard to take this championship, he wants to start this thing off strong. They're all starting to separate, get their own little piece of track here, Sean.
Good 3-car battle here. Floris Bichar, Antti Terho, and Ryan McCusker. McCusker still trying to get that spot back. Oh, look at that. Antti moves out, tries to get around the outside here.
Bichar stays defensive, but he doesn't carry the momentum as well as Terho does. The Finn overtakes the Benelux driver for the 8th position behind them. McCusker giving watch. Swinging wide out of club. Everybody managing to handle it fine.
That was a really great move by Antti there, coming around the outside, caught that momentum, and able to pull that pass off. Up 4 spots, Joe.
Bravery paying off. Let's see if he can move any farther forward. He's got a gap up to Bycroft at this point. Oh, and some side-by-side action behind them. That's Timothy Dalton and Pablo Suarez. Suarez making an attempt to the inside of Brooklands, but it did not pay off as he stays behind the Brit.
Suarez wants that spot back, Joe.
Wonder if he saw what happened between Dalton and Pickford earlier on. Needs to be wary. Obviously, Dalton not afraid to race close and make contact. These two.
I was just going to say, notice has been served.
These two close behind McCusker and Bichar. Drop back a little bit coming out of the S's of the Maggots-Beckett sequence. But Suarez wasn't able to close. He's going to stay behind as they hit Stowe. After Dalton's incident there with Mark Pickford, You have to hope that Suarez is aware of his license to kill.
Oh. I see what you did there.
Always got to get at least one in there.
Yeah. He was actually in... Yes, he was in that movie. That's right. I think that was his James Bond debut. Now that I think about that.
Boy, McCusker is all over Bashar just ahead of these two as they come through Luffield. Can't do anything with it. I was told that the buffeting off of the car ahead can make it really difficult in some of these fast corners, Sean.
Yeah, it's definitely almost like being on an oval. A little bit of loss of downforce there when you're just up on them. And I have to take it cautiously.
We saw it there through Copse as McCusker backed way off of the gearbox of Bashar and put him into the clutches of Dalton, who makes a mistake coming through Maggots and Beckett. Here comes Suarez right into the slipstream. Holding to the inside, Dalton tries to stay defensive. Now a peek around to the outside. Pablo seeing if he can maybe make the move that we saw Terho do earlier. Comes back in right next to him, door to door. And he manages to get by. He's going to have the inside as they come up to club, and he gets it done.
Okay, so we know where to pass there out of Stowe. On the outside.
The defensive move does not seem to be working for at least a couple cars at this point. So we jump back up to the lead. Still staying at roughly a second between Macias, Norlampi, and Morera. Ruicola a little bit farther back.
Yeah, Ruicola just doesn't seem to have found the line yet. Fast, definitely fast. Fastest lap of the race that time by, but like I said, just not seem to have found it yet. Maybe good things to come after that fast lap.
Behind them, I keep having to glance back at McCusker because he closes in, and then as soon as they hit Cop, Sean, it's like that wake pushes him back and he has to climb back up all over again.
Yeah, now McCusker, again, with Suarez keeping the pressure on, McCusker's going to have to be really careful about losing that type of time. So I think McCusker right now is trying to figure it out, trying to calculate where's the best spot to really try and make a run at Flores so I don't lose a whole bunch of time. Here he comes now.
Closes in very strong, coming up to club and off the corner. You can see him just ducking to the inside, trying to stay out of the turbulent air of the car ahead to try and keep that grip. It has mostly worked. Peeks to the inside down into bridge. Definitely not close enough to try anything there. And they hit Priory with nobody moving out of line as he almost gets rear-ended by Suarez.
Big check up there from Suarez. Keeps the front wing on it though, Joe.
Did not expect to close that much, and you can see just how close they get to one another as they accordion together there through Luffield. And let's watch once again as they come through Copse here. Let's see if McCusker can hold on a little bit better. Just off the apex, it's like that car does not want to tuck in. And look at what this did to behind as Suarez gains ground.
Suarez really digging here. Boy, almost right up on the wing.
Suarez seems to be the only one we've seen who is good in that hot air. Stays right up on the back of McCusker. This is where the Canadians begins to close on the Benelux driver every time through the back half of the course. This time not nearly as close coming out of club, but Suarez is. Something in Pablo's setup is really allowing him to fight close with the cars in front of him. Let's see if he gets as close as he did last time through Priory. This time a little bit farther back. Oh, tucks it in into Brooklands. Would not have expected a move like that. I think we saw him attempt that earlier on in this race. Didn't manage to pull it off though.
Well, I definitely like the racing I am seeing here out of Ryan McCusker. I can't confirm it, but I don't remember seeing him last season at all. And boy, a stunning debut here out of this Canadian.
I don't either. Remember, Pickford had his early problems. He's managed to overtake 2 cars, Keith and Devine. Now he's working on Henrik Camera. Scandinavian driver probably glancing at his mirrors now as they head into the S's, into the Maggots-Beckett sequence. So despite having a clout to the side, Pickford doesn't seem to be too damaged, has the pace to climb back through. Fortunately for him, he started in 10th, though. He's only up to 19th. He's got a ways to go to get back where he was, and a deep move. Way off the apex, though, he loses his momentum off the corner. Here comes Camera back at him, but he's going to be on the wrong side here into club. Oh, McCusker finally side by side. Sneaks to the inside of Bashar. Bashar now under attack down into Brooklands as Suarez slips through, takes advantage. And in one corner, 2 positions lost for the Benelux driver. Oh, but I think there was contact there. Suarez got right up underneath the rear wing of Ryan.
Boy, I don't see any damage on Suarez's car, but that did look awful close, Joe.
Brave stuff there from McCusker. Finally, after laps of work, gets it done. But if he thought he was done with Suarez, like a horror movie, he follows him through and does not relent.
Yeah, think again there. Keep digging, Ryan.
This isn't the only fight that we've got going. Joachim Bodeker, who we have not really watched yet this race, is trying to see if he can get past John Stevens for 13th. To come up the hangar straight, one of the most popular places to pass just about any car you race here.
Yeah, Stevens, one of the few American drivers in here, howling out of New England. That Leger Chatin's machine. I'm sorry, that's the Talbot Chatin's car.
Indeed, some of the old liveries sharing a few sponsors, I believe. But it doesn't look like he's close enough to do anything. So let's take a peek at our leaders. Not a lot exciting has happened up here, just mostly a pressure cooker. Macias leading by a second over Norlampi in second position. He has gapped Nuno Moreira, who's now 2 seconds back in that final podium spot. Cali Ruicola as well, holding about a second back. It seems like the turbulent air is really forcing these cars to be equidistant gaps apart. Same thing with Hoffer, who holds 5th, just about a second and a half back.
Yeah, I keep watching what Nuno's doing, and I think everything Nuno is doing right now is just saving himself for the last 5 laps. This is a long race for the CTC guys, 29 laps here. A lot of patience. We haven't even hit the halfway point yet. We're getting close, but it's a bit of a grinder. It takes a little bit of patience at this track.
6th place, Marco Kika. He's well back from Hoffer, but he's got Steve Bycroft back there. And surprisingly, for the first time in a while, we see Bycroft in something other than yellow with Indiana emblazoned on it. Looks like he's switched to Ligier this season.
He certainly has. Kind of almost missed that yellow.
It was so easy to find him.
I was always told you never put yellow on a race car, though, so maybe a good change for him. So far, a solid drive here out of Bycroft.
He's putting the pressure on Kika, but he's half a second back, so can't really dive in at this point. All he has to do is stay close, maybe hope for a mistake from the Finn. Oh, and 15th, how about this side-by-side action as we come up to Kops. It's Bodeker and Valimaki. Valimaki around the outside, a big slide, though, from Bodeker. Both of them sliding off track, returning on, but Bodeker does lose the position. Valimaki up to 14th.
Here comes Bodeker fighting back, though. We got a replay from above of this.
This was a great job by Joachim to hold on to this as the rear just came out as he turned in. Big puff of smoke as he catches it. Oh, he had another go up into Stowe. Sorry there, Sean.
I was going to say Bodeker was fighting back right there just as we were going back live. He got up on the inside of Valimaki. I don't think he's very happy. He wants that spot back.
Absolutely. These two fighting just about where they started. And they started 15th and 16th. And closes in as they come under bridge. Now into Priory. Oh, meanwhile, McCusker has a problem. He's off track. This is in Brooklands.
Wow.
Oh, and unfortunately, Suarez finally got bit by how close he's been traveling to the cars ahead as McCusker lost the rear end. Just got tipped the rest of the way around.
Yeah, you're going to see this from inside Suarez's car here. McCusker going to start to spin, and then Suarez caught out short here. No place to really run, and it gets just a little bit. You see the damage on the left front wing.
Not much damage. Suarez, a little bit of an innocent victim in that one, though, in that Lotus livery. Though he was following close, that was definitely a mistake by McCusker that tipped that one off. And that has actually put him back into the fight with Kamara and Devine here for this 18th position.
Yeah, boy, that's a big, big tumble all the way back to 18th.
Disappointing after what was a very strong drive from the Canadian. A little bit of a peak from Devine, but can't get it done past Henrik. We switched back. We were switched back up to 7th. Looks like this fight may have settled down back here. The battle that our director was on with Bycroft, though. He's got to worry about Antti Terho behind him. Not just working on Marko Kika now, but a sandwich in between fins.
Finished sandwich? I would imagine that might have some fish on it, possibly.
Fish and some salmiakki, maybe?
Maybe, yes.
So we ride on board with Terho, riding in the wheel tracks of Steve Bycroft, rather. This is our closest fight up at the top of the field. This is 4-6 position. Still a long ways to go, though. 16 laps and what started as a 29-lap race. So these drivers know that they do have opportunities laying ahead potentially if they stay patient, if they focus on driving their own race. Bycroft closing in down into Priory. Cars once again coming together. Go ahead, Sean.
A good battle here, actually, for 16th. Oken and Pickford. Pickford taking the wide way around there. Pickford going to get it. Wow, nice move by Mark Pickford.
Ooh, trying to come back at him. Oken's not giving up, but now that it swings back into Luffield, I think he's going to have to give up the ghost. Going to watch on board here. Pickford coming through bridge, being brave, braking very late into Priory, trusting that that car was going to stay to the inside. And just like his rear wing, Mark Pickford makes cat tracks, moves himself farther forward. Boy, Antti Terho closing in on the back of Bycroft now, only 0.3 behind. Maybe getting a little bit antsy, wanting to have something done. Swings way out past the curbing there on club. Maybe we could see a repeat of what we saw with Pickford if he could break late into Priory, but no. Not close enough to make an attempt this time for Antti Terho.
Maybe Antti waits to get around here and back to Stowe and try and pull off one of those moves on the outside like we've seen a couple times today.
It was shallow into left field, cuts it back to try and square off the exit of that final hairpin. Meanwhile, Kamara has a problem.
Yeah, he does. Boy, tough break for Henrik. He's just going to lose it, Joe, and overcorrects and loses the car, unfortunately, right into the wall.
You can see it here on the replay. Bam, right into there.
He takes
coming through there
back
at a rate of knots, and certainly didn't have much time to try and slow it down. We've jumped back up to our leader, Sergio Macias. He's led since the drop of the green. He took the pole. He's extended the gap to 1.6 at the moment. Juha's not letting him get away with it.
Ooh, Flores Bichar, Timothy Dalton going at it. Dalton just getting by Flores. Still going at it.
Boy, Dalton has been on the move. He started 13th. This is going to put him into 10th now. Let's watch the replay. Is this a repeat of what we've seen before? Indeed, it was. Bichar went defensive, tried to hold that inside around Stowe, but for some reason, that grip on the high side is working beautifully.
It really is, Joe. I didn't get to do a whole lot of side-by-side racing in my testing, but so I didn't get in that position, but man, what a run.
John Stevens, as we come back live, is also sitting behind Bichar. Bichar seems to have qualified a lot better than he is racing. He started in 8th position. He's now down to 11th. And if Stevens was threatening, but he lost a lot of time through Copse. So I think Bichar can finally breathe a sigh of relief. These two have split up. Let's jump a little bit farther forward to Bycroft, still in that Finn sandwich.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, but Kika, you got to give credit to Kika, what he's been able to do. He's really kept them in the mirror pretty comfortably, Joe, just by running a good line around this track, not making any mistakes. He's been pretty flawless here so far.
It's withstood the pressure from Bycroft, but Bycroft as well has Terho poking and prodding now, poking his nose out, looking to see if he can maybe find an opportunity, maybe get in the headspace of Steve. Indiana driver's been dealing with it very well at this point. We're familiar with Bycroft running over in the Camel GT series, tends to run the Nissan. Drives similarly to this Lotus 79 with lots of downforce. Boy, getting very close here to Magnussen, Beckett, Sean.
Yeah. It's Antti Terho that seems to be struggling just a little bit now. Bycroft, though, getting the run.
Oh, yes, he does. Oh, but are we seeing a smart move from Kika? He stays to the outside. Bycroft breaks late. He gets a nose ahead. Trying to carry that momentum. They're going to stay side by side, and look at this. Kika with a savvy move. Can he hold on to it? It's going to switch back to the inside, and Bycroft, despite everybody else making the pass around the outside, does not care. He's going to move to the inside. A threat from Terho behind now as he smells blood in the water. His fellow Finn has been passed. He's now close behind, but Marco Kika is not giving up. He's going to look to the inside of Bridge. It's going to switch back when they hit Priory. He gets back to single file, goes defensive to keep Terho behind. The order is going to be Bycroft, Kika, Terho.
Ooh, look out. Bycroft finally able to get that spot. A lot of work went into that. Kika had held onto that 6th spot there for at least a dozen laps.
Oh, and Valimaki is falling backwards, if I'm not mistaken. Looks like coming out of Prairie. Oh, and this was driver error, Sean.
Yeah, Joe, it was. Boy, the car just started to slide a little bit. You're going to see here. There it goes, stepping out. He's just not able to recover from that.
Bodeker, who nearly missed him, might have had a good view. We're going to get another angle here.
Boy, Joaquin, he just finished. He just misses this.
It looked to me like he even lifted. This was very savvy of him to watch that car ahead and be aware and time it just right, sneaking through. Now, Valimaki does continue, but that puts him down to the 17th. We've jumped to our leader, Sergio Macias, still holding at 1.6. Can't extend it any farther over Nora Lompe. Juhan's got to be asking himself, is there any week that he can have the lead to himself for once?
Well, Juhan's done a great job of keeping him close, but he's still losing a little bit every lap. Just, five to 6 thousandths of a second, and it just keeps compounding itself. Now it's 1.7 seconds. But, to his credit, Nuno Moreira has not been able to close in on him at all.
And this podium has been at a stalemate since Nuno Moreira managed to overtake Ruicola. No change for a number of laps. We're down to 10 to go, though.
And I am surprised not to see Calle Ruicola in this mix. I just wonder if it broke his spirit when Nuno took that position away.
It certainly seems like he's dropped all the way back to 4 seconds behind third place. Meanwhile, in 11th, John Stevens in a fight around the outside of Timothy Dalton. We've seen this move before. Can Stevens get it done?
That's Bishar. Actually, he just went around. Yep. Good move, though.
Once again, Bishar tumbles.
To be fair, Joe, they have the same colors practically. Kind of an orange and white thing going there.
Absolutely. Bishar only kept up into the 12th position thanks to the problems of Valimaki falling backwards. Car falling upwards, if that could be a thing, is Mark Pickford. Has made his way to 14th. In fact, the next car up is going to be Joachim Bodeker. Just about 2 seconds up the road.
Oaken's still doing a good job here in the back. Up to 16th. John, of course, started in that 21st spot. It's a positive run for a newcomer. Stayed out of trouble. Car still looks clean.
Since we're getting so close to the end here, let's give you an update of the order of the field. Run it through. Give everybody a little bit of screen time. Sergio Macias, we've talked about here and there, hasn't had a lot of screen time just because he hasn't had many battles. Led since the drop of the green, has taken the pole and has actually now extended that gap up another half a second. Nora Lompe may have had a mistake. We'll have to go back and check on that. Driver known for having to deal with chronic fatigue syndrome, which makes his pace all the more impressive. He's held off Nuno Moreira behind him, sitting in third. Nuno had a bit of a controversial finish the very first broadcast we had here on GSRC with the Lotus 79. Since then has settled in, looking to get himself a nice podium. And fourth, Calle Ruicola, as you said, continues to lose ground on these three. He's now up 4.3 seconds behind Nuno Moreira. We're used to seeing him fighting a little bit closer to the front. Let's see if maybe a different track next week will suit him better. And then rounding out the top five, Sean Gerd Hoffer also losing out. He's about 4 seconds back behind Ruicola as well. Gerd, with his consistency, could get himself another 5th place at the end of this season. What's the next 5 look like, Sean?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's Steve Bycroft in 6th, who fought for quite a while to get around Marco Kika. And that's where you find him in 7th, still holding off the 8th place driver, Avanti Terho. So now those two Finns have come together and are chasing Steve Bycroft. Bycroft kind of starting to check out on him just a little bit, though, but we'll drop all the way to 9th, where you'll find Pablo Lambarez Suarez up a couple spots from where he started. But I think if you asked him, he's probably falling a little short of his expectations in this race. You go back to 10th, and that's another 8.5, almost 9 seconds back to Timothy Dalton, who rounds out our top 10 right now. Dalton, of course, been mixing it up quite a bit. We've talked about him here, Joe, but still finds himself in the top 10, and that is a positive run for him so far.
Behind him, just outside of that top 10, is John Stevens, but he qualified in 14th, so he has managed to gain positions. Interestingly, his practice time put him at 11th, and he's driving car number 11, so he must like this number. Floris Bichar is behind him. He's been overtaken by Stevens recently. Boy, Floris is having a bad day, starting in 8th and now has been shuffled down to 12th after multiple drivers have overtaken him around the outside of Stowe. Joachim Bodeker is a gap back, so Floris may not have to worry too much about losing more spots, about 5 seconds to the DH driver. Who actually...
John Keefe spins right in front of Juha Norlampi. Juha had just messaged to asking him to move. You're going to see what happens here. I don't know if the message rattled him or what, but Keefe just spins in the middle turn. The Preacher just gets by, and so does Nuno Moreira.
They basically split him. Let's watch on board the Preacher. Wow, this is fast thinking. Just whoop into the inside.
And then Nuno just behind, you see him. He goes around the outside.
John Keefe, the last car out on track at the moment. Henrik Hammer and Ryan McCusker have retired. Now, I'm not sure if we missed an incident with them.
I went back and tried to find something with McCusker. I didn't, but well, maybe I have it here. It's his lap 21, so yeah, about 3 laps ago, he got in trouble. Yeah, and Maggots and Beckett's, I think is where he had the trouble.
Looks like it happened on his lap 21, but I don't believe he hit anything. I'm seeing in Stowe. I'm looking at a different incident apparently than you, Sean, because in Stowe he slipped off track.
Yeah, and slid off into the grass and took the toe in. So, and then took the car behind the wall.
Looks like we can't find the replay, unfortunately. So we're going to have to assume that maybe Ryan, being so far back, just decided to call it a day and couldn't make any more inroads on anyone ahead of him. Disappointed to see after such a surprisingly good qualifying.
Don't give up, man. Come back. See us next week.
Absolutely. Only one car has been lapped. That is John Keefe, who we saw. And then Paul Devine is the next one up the road past Macias, but he's a long ways up. So we could see only one car put a lap down in the end of this, unless some of the drivers behind make some serious mistakes.
Well, I think it's safe to say that Sergio Macias has been very solid here today at Silverstone. When Juha Norlampi can't catch you, you're doing something right.
In fact, Juha seems to be struggling here at the end because not only is he dropping off of Macias, Moreira is gaining ground on him.
Yeah, Nuno's starting to make this uncomfortable for Juha. Yeah, I said it earlier, 29 laps. It's a lot of laps here around Silverstone. And, of course, we talked about Juha's condition earlier. You never know when he might be feeling a little fatigued, and that can happen to any driver. Unfortunately for him, it can come in probably bigger waves than, the average person who doesn't suffer from CFS.
The only lap that I'm seeing that's way down on time, at least that stands out, is the lap that he had to dodge around the machine of John Keefe. Everything else has been consistently in the 27s for Juha. And that's what impresses me most about these top drivers in the 79, Sean, is the consistency they manage in these cars that are whipping around these corners at a huge rate of knots.
Yeah, definitely, Joe. I've got my eyes on Antti Terho, though. I got to be honest with you. He's sits back here in 8th, and 7th is just up in front of him, a second from Marko Kika. He's still turning in really, really good laps here. It was a little bit slower than Kika last time, but it seems like this lap here, he started to gain on him just a bit. We're right at that, like I said, that 1 second mark. Certainly pull him in the toe once we get straightened out here a little bit.
I was going to say, he's going to have to hustle, though. We've only got 4 laps to go, and we're very close to being down to 3, because Macias is coming around Woodcote right now. Don't forget, behind Terho, Suarez, who's had quite a good race as well. Started in 11th, slipped back a little bit, jumped back up to 9th. He's starting to close in on the Finn.
Yeah, he is. Oh, boy. Suarez getting a little antsy back here. Oh, and Antti makes a bit of a mistake there out of Woodcote.
The way that Suarez closes in the technical sections and the way that he seems unfazed by the aero wash of the car ahead, it almost seems like he's just found more mechanical grip with his setup.
Either that or he's running a little bit more downforce, Joe, because he seems to be where he's losing is in the more wide open flat out sections of the track. So call it whatever you want, mechanical grip, maybe a little more downforce in his wing. But here he goes now, making this move here, and Antti being very defensive there.
We've seen a number of drivers fall to the... Oh, my goodness. Big bobble from Pablo, and somehow collects it back together. Doesn't lose too much time. He's still within striking range of Terho, but boy, that had to have given him a scare. Nuno Moreira, who was on top of Nora Lampi, has now fallen back to 2.3 seconds. Now, I'm going back to see if maybe he had a problem.
Yeah, I went back too, Joe. I'm not really sure where it was unless someone spun in front of him. No?
Maybe a few laps ago, he just starts to drop off once they start through Copse, but I don't see anything significant. I'm checking right now to see if maybe he had a slide. Yeah. Seems like something about the final sector is not agreeing with Moreira, because he's losing a lot of time there.
Okay, back to this. I talked about the battle between Terho and Suarez. They've got John Keefe in this mix here. Coming up on him anyway. Right now it's Marko Kika right behind him. Only about a lap and a half to go. I don't know if they're going to have to get through Keefe.
He pulls over.
Kika gets around. Oh, he gets out of the way of it altogether.
Lets all 3 of them through, and now the battle can continue. Nets can be placed back in the street. Car is gone. Game on. And it's certainly going to be an intense one if anybody gets a sniff, because the white flag is out as Macias comes around one more time. It's been a dominant performance from the Iberian driver. We saw him drive well last season. Didn't show up at every race, but certainly when he did show, he was in the mix of the leaders. This time around, no Frisch to worry about. Nora Lampi does not seem to be as on his game as Nora Lampi would have liked. So as he comes around club with only half a lap to go, there is nobody within 3 seconds to phase Sergio Macias.
Yeah, and you know, Yuha just threw down the fastest lap of the race for everybody. It's just not enough here at the end.
Too little, too late for the preacher. Sergio around Luffield, squares off that final exit, flat out through Woodcote, and as he crosses the line, round one here in the Lotus 79 CTC goes to Sergio Macias.
Man, what a great drive by him. Yuha coming across in second. Nuno Moreira rounding out the podium. Marco Kika still back here trying to hold off Antti Terho and Pablo Labara Suarez. These three will definitely race to the line.
They're just behind Bycroft, who's going to manage to take home a 6th spot. Unless there's a big launcher, big problem, and there is not. They're going to go in order. Kika, Terho, and Suarez down to 10th. Excuse me, down to 9th, actually.
Bodeker, both Bodeker and Flores Bichart getting just by John Keefe. Here in Luffield. Oh, is it going to be enough for Bodeker? I don't think so. Bichart got a nice run out of that.
And how about the recovery drive from Pickford? Brings himself back up to 14th, so he didn't get back to where he started, but having slipped all the way to last on the field, not a bad job to get that car up the order. Newcomer Gilles Taux, of course, behind him in 15th, Valimaki in 16th. And then we got the last of the cars on the lead lap, Oken and Devine. With that, we're going to go to break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, make sure to stick around because we have all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Silverstone. We just watched round 1 here in season 4 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. Sergio Macias has decided that he wants to put a stamp on this season. Starts it off with a win. Juha Norlampi, after coming home second in the points, is going to have to come home second on track as well here to kick things off. Let's see if maybe he can improve throughout the season. Nuno Moreira as well. Didn't seem to have the pace. Made a go at things later on, but then fell off and settles for third. Kalle Ruokola just outside of the podium. Was a whole 11 seconds back from our leader, Gerd Hoffer, kind of in no man's land whole race. Finishes fifth. Steve Bycroft, great race for him. Started in 6th, finished in 6th, but still had great battles throughout. Managed to overtake Marco Kika to get back into that 6th spot, who comes home in 7th, and Antti Turho as well was challenging them. The Finn started in 12th, finished in 8th. Good climb. Pablo Suarez, he gets himself up into 9th, and then rounding out the top 10 is Timothy Dalton.
Okay, we'll go back to 11th. John Stevens finishes there today. Floris Bichar involved in a really, really good battle there with Joaquin Boddicker will finish 12th. Boddicker finishes 13th. Mark Pickford, 14th for him. Gilles too will finish 15th. 16th goes to Sammy Valimaki. John Oken had a great run early. Would be nice to see him come on back. 17th there. Paul Devine, 18th. 19th going to go to John Keefe. Ryan McCusker with a 20th place finish. Boy, he was strong early for most of the race. But Ryan, come on back. If you're watching, we'd love to see you again next week. And then Henrik Schamera will finish actually in 21st today.
Up first for our interviews, we have Juha Norlampi. The preacher joins us after a 2nd place finish and just looked like he could not keep up with Sergio throughout this race. Juha, you were holding pace. You were just keeping that gap at about 1.5 seconds, and then suddenly you started to drop off. Did something happen either to you or the car towards the end of the race? Juha, do you have a copy? Looks like Juha might be stepping away for just a moment, so we'll give him a second to perhaps come back. But in the meantime, Sean, would you like to talk to our 3rd place finisher, Nuno Moreira?
Yeah, definitely. Would love to talk to Nuno. Nuno, congratulations on another podium finish here in the CTC Championship. Round 1 starting off a lot better today than round 1 did last season. How you feeling?
Hello, guys. After a long break, I think it felt very good. So it is a 3rd spot. It's not 1st spot, sadly. But I think Sergio was too fast today. All in all, I'm very happy not to be stumped by these guys, because it was scary. And the smallest of the mistakes, and they just fly away. It's just amazing the speed the top guys here run. So great result after all.
Yeah, and we had said when we were calling out the grid that almost a 3,500 SOF. That means, yes, it was a very tough field. Talk to us real quick about the incident with John Keefe late in the race when you guys are coming around to lap him. He spins in the middle of the track. Juha goes one way and you go the other.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting part of the race where gladly everything was okay, but it was like... one of those things, after a few years, you get not used to these situations, of course, but you get to choose, because there's a choice and you go left or right or center, and one of them is okay and the other two are going to end your race. Gladly, I made the right choice, but well, either me or Juha could have done the wrong choice, but this is something that can happen anytime in a race.
Now, are you planning to run all season?
Not this season. I'm like, after the last one, I did the first few races, and this, I think it will be more or less the same. So it will be more on and off, but every time I come here, it's really good fun, and I really enjoy this. So it's for fun.
Well, it's always fun when you're here and we get to talk about you on track, Nuno. Congratulations on a podium finish. Hopefully we get a chance to see you next week at Sebring.
All right, guys. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Thank you. And thank you to all the Lotus 79 guys. Amazing racing.
And it's amazing watching Nuno week in and week out, Joe. Hopefully he can make a bunch of these this season. Quick note about Sergio Macias. He a former champion in the CTC. So if he plans to be here all season, these guys are in for quite a ride. I think we're going to give Juha another chance, though. I see him back there in the paddock, ready to go.
Yeah, and it sounds like we've got his mic working now. So, Juha, I was curious. It seemed like you were able to hold the gap behind Sergio for much of the race at just about a second and a half, and then you started to fall back at the end. Was it the car or you that something was going wrong?
Hi, Joe. Can you hear me now?
We've got you loud and clear.
Okay. Sorry, I had a new wheel here and I forgot to make the buttons right. But yes, I had a good pace, but Sergio had perhaps 1/10 quicker car, and at the end there was a few mistakes, but I couldn't catch him and I couldn't overtake him. It's very difficult here when you have similar cars and similar pace. It's impossible if Sergio wouldn't make a mistake, and he didn't.
We did hear some drivers tell us about the difficulty of the wake, making it hard to stay close in some of these fast corners. Is there anything in the setup you can do to counteract that, or is it just something you have to gut through?
Well, of course you can make some changes during the race, and perhaps front R be more softer, and that could help. But well, I managed to improve my setup from the last time I won here every race last time, but that setup wouldn't be enough. It was almost half a second slower than this one, and I thought that it's going to be good, but I don't know what Sergio had done, but congratulations to him. He was very fast and quick, and also make no mistakes, and I'm terrified about that pace if he's going to continue for the rest of the season with that pace. And Nuno was okay. He was also very fast here, and it's nice that we have so tight competition.
Speaking of the rest of the season, up next is Sebring, known for its bumpy nature. This car, of course, is very heavy on the steering without the power steering. Is that going to be difficult for you dealing with such a physical circuit next round?
Well, let's see. I have last Friday I got a new wheel, and I'm just learning to try with it. Well, the next race is very pumpy, and I have one setup which is good to drive. It's very soft, and I don't know if it's quick enough, but we will see. And by the way, I'm much better condition now, and I'm very pleased that that's going to be helping me perhaps gaining some speed even more.
That's fantastic news to hear. We talked a little bit about your experience with CFS on the broadcast, and we look forward to seeing you maybe taking the fight to Sergio this season.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, that was Juha Norlampi, a second place finisher today at Silverstone. With that, Sean, I think we're going to close things up. And of course, we want to again thank the Lotus 79 community for coming together and bringing us to air once again for another season. We love getting to call these guys. These races are always very exciting. And thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen that allow us to come to air. Additional thanks to Eric Eckel and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Amjad, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race, as I mentioned, that'll be at Sebring. That'll be Sunday, September 24th. That'll kick off at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, just like we do every week. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.